Well, obviously, the media is reporting on the ongoing trial happening in Minneapolis of former police officer Derek Chauvin in connection with the death of George Floyd. I don't particularly want to go into the legal niceties. I'm sure there'll be plenty of time ahead to discuss that. But I did want to talk to you about this. And this is the good old BBC explaining why the Chauvin trial exhausts Black America. And it goes on to say that it's triggering fresh trauma for many Black Americans who have seen their pain televised in countless viral videos. But I think we need to have a look at what this pain could be. Talks about police brutality, talks about Black activists in Minneapolis, Black Lives Matter, talks about all those things. So let's see if we can just delve a little into the pain that exhausts Black America. Would that pain, for example, include the killing of former police officer David Dorn? I'm sure you remember, he was brutally killed at the time of the riots, and I'm just wondering how the killing of this former police officer, how does that exhaust Black America? Because it wasn't white America that was responsible for the killing of this fine, upstanding officer. It also, when we talk about the pain, let's consider what the Atlanta mayor had to say when a small girl called Sequoia Turner, an 8-year-old, was one of several people killed during riots, during BLM riots. And it's worth reading the details. It talks about the lofty aspirations of BLM have been clouded by continuing violence. This little girl, in fact, let me just, here we go. Let me just show you her. This is the child we're talking about. This little 8-year-old girl was gunned down after an armed group stopped her family's car. You kill your own this time, her father said at a news conference. You killed a child. She didn't do nothing to nobody. Well, of course she didn't. But nobody's got the right to just randomly go around killing anyone. And yet that's exactly what certain groups were doing. Here we see some largely peaceful rioting, which was obviously easing the pain of Black America. Here's more of it. Look at this. I think this was a fast food place put on fire. Here's more largely peaceful yet fiery protest. And again, more fiery protest. You know, we get statistics like this, which are just kind of almost dismissed by the media. At least 6 children were killed by gun violence. And the little girl on the right there, you can see again, is little Sequoia. But those other kids are killed in gun violence. And, you know, we have to ask some hard questions about, well, who pulled the trigger exactly? And what about that sort of pain? So I think that the whole issue about, Black America being exhausted, I don't really understand where the BBC's coming in this one here. BLM violence has devastated certain, largely Black communities. However, I did see this. I thought this was worth sharing with you as well, because this is a kind of off the radar levels of stupidity that I find almost impossible to understand. Let me just put it up. So here we go. How a Black-owned restaurant responded after being burnt down during protests, right? So let's find out, how did the Bole Ethiopian cuisine, that's what we're talking about, in St. Paul, was destroyed during the premises. I think we got a picture. There we go. There's that apparently is how BLM rioters help support the community by burning it to the ground. But I thought this is kind of remarkable headline. Let me just bring this up. So these are the individuals here. These are the Rikik Abine and her husband Solomon Haile, owners of Bole Ethiopian cuisine in St. Paul's, told ABC News it was overwhelming to see the restaurant reduced to rubble after the first night of George Floyd protests. And of course, they're very upset about this. And but they said remarkably, despite their solidarity, they stand in solidarity with the Black community and support the underlying message. And then this is the bit that I find stunning. Quote, if it means burning our building and our businesses to get justice for George Floyd and all of Black Lives Matter, we're okay with that, Haley said. But we can't bring back any soul. Well, hey, heads up, Haley. I think we figured that. But yeah, so here we have these people actually whose premises have been burnt down, and they are supportive of the people who burnt down their premises. I'm afraid that's a level of stupidity that exceeds my pay grade to comment on. But everyone wants to see racial harmony if we can. We don't want to see people being divided on the basis of their ethnicity. That is clearly wrong. But you know, it's not just Black Americans who are exhausted by all of this. I suggest that white Americans and other ethnicities in America are equally exhausted by, for example, the continued threat from BLM that if the officer concerned, former officer Derek Chauvin, is not convicted of murder, then, as we've seen previously here on the channel, there are clear threats of more violence. I have to tell you this, justice must be done, and justice must be seen to be done. And if justice doesn't give some groups that which they want, and as a consequence of that, they go back to mainly peaceful, fiery protest, then we have to see them as the enemies of racial harmony in the United States. That's what I think. I'd be very interested in what you think. Do drop me a comment in the thread below, and I'll catch up with you folks soon.